Hello CISOs, CTOs, and Jira admins. Today, I'm going to show you how you can build your ISMS, your Information Security Management System, in Jira and Confluence Cloud. Every organization today faces some sort of information security risks, from phishing to ransomware to third-party vulnerabilities. And in response to that, an increasing amount of companies today are improving their information security by following ISO 27001 or SOC 2 to identify their assets, to assess the threats and vulnerabilities, and to assign and implement controls to them. ISO 27001 reminds us that the central part of ISMS is to manage information security risks and that this is a continuous process that requires regular reviews and documented approvals. Yet in too many companies, the information security risks are still listed in a static spreadsheet disconnected from actual workflows of the company. In this video, I will show you how you can manage your ISMS procedures in Confluence Cloud and how you can build your information security risk management in Jira. And most importantly, how you can bring these information security risks from Jira to your documentation and reports in Confluence for approvals. Let's see how this can be done. On the Jira side, in this workflow, in step 1, you can create everything you need for your risk management. And this sits in Jira in the Soft-Comply Risk Manager Plus app, where you can create your own information security risk model and information security risk register. In step 2, you create risk reports inside Confluence. And in these reports, you have Confluence macros for your risk model and your risk register. Now, these macros in Confluence are dynamic. They are absolutely amazing in terms of being constantly up to date. Everything you do in Jira, in the risk register, will automatically be reflected in the macros in Confluence. And that is amazing until you need to actually approve a document with that particular macro in it. Now, if you want to create a baseline, you will need to make sure that the macro is static, that the content is not changing after you have signed this particular meeting minute or a report for your risks. And for that, you have to take a static snapshot of the macro in Confluence. So we're going to show you how you can do that with the Soft-Comply Static Snapshots app. Step 3, you create your risk plan, your risk review meeting minutes, your risk report in Confluence with the Document Manager app from Soft-Comply. Now, you have created this document in Confluence, and you can now add the snapshot of your risk model or your risk table inside that particular document. For example, risk model setup goes to risk plan in Confluence and so forth. Now, the snapshot is there, the document is ready. For example, it is a risk management plan with a risk model setup ready to go, meaning that you need to route this document for approvals inside the Document Manager app. And once you have signed the document, be it the risk management plan or the risk review meeting minutes, you can release it for everybody in the organization. And this is a very quick summary of what we are going to show you today in this video. So let's start from the beginning, and let's start with Jira and by creating a risk model. Every risk management project starts with a risk model. A risk model is the basis of your risk assessment. It is the place where you identify the risk acceptability criteria, meaning that you define which risks at what point are high risks and need immediate control. Risk Manager Plus app comes with templates for risk models and risk tables or risk registers. And this here is a set of risk model templates in the Risk Manager Plus app. And one of them is a risk model for 27001. And now let's go and see what that exactly entails. The first question is, how many times do you want to assess a risk? And this is called a risk iteration. In this particular model, we have 2 iterations. We have initial and current. Initial risk iteration is the first time you assess risk. And this is usually right after you identify that risk without no mitigation, no controls being implemented yet. And then once you have the controls already assigned and implemented, we assess that risk again, hopefully to see that the risk level has been lowered. In this particular model, we have initial and current risk iterations, and these are risk parameters by which you find the level of your risk. And in this case, we have a risk characteristic called consequences and a risk characteristic called likelihood on these 2 different axes of the matrix. You can call them impact and probability or whichever you wish. In here, we have 5 levels for each with a description of the probability and the impact of each of the levels. And we are happy with that. It's a 5 by 5 risk matrix. with 3 risk levels, low, medium, high, and again, some description of these levels here. You can add them if you need or change the description of colors as you wish. Now we have the 5x5 consequences likelihood risk matrix. In here in the cells, you can change some of the risk levels if you find it necessary. For example, here we see that if a risk is with a possible likelihood and a moderate consequence, this risk level should actually be high. So we can change it, give a name to a risk model so that you can easily find it when you need to assign it to the Jira project or to the risk register that you're using. So this is now the 27001 risk model. This is all good, but now we want this risk model to be reflected in the risk management plan in Confluence. So the next step based on our workflow is to jump to Confluence. And in here in Confluence, I keep my macros. And one of those Jira reporting macros is information security risk model setup. Just like we said before, the amazing thing about pulling information from Jira to Confluence is that it is always dynamic. And this particular macro here, the risk model macro, shows that this is the state of the information security risk model that we just set up in Jira. But now, if I want to put this macro inside a document that needs to go through an approval, I want that macro to not change anymore. For that, I will make this dynamic macro static. For that, I use soft-comply static snapshots app. I'm going to take the snapshot now of this page, and it will make this whole page static, and I can put that static snapshot of the macro into the document in Confluence. I took the static snapshot of this macro on 6th of November, 2:55 p.m., which is exactly the time that I have at the moment. And now I jump to Document Manager app, and I'm going to create a new document called Infosec Risk Plan November 6th. For compliant document control, your templates also need to be approved, and I have already drafted and approved this template. So I'm going to use a risk management plan template, and I'm going to put this document into risk management files folder, and I start versioning from 1. Now the document is being created, and once it's ready, I can go to the document in Confluence, and I can add the snapshot that we just did inside the plan. I'm going to edit this risk management plan. You have different things that you want to highlight, for example, the scope, the purpose, who is responsible for what. And one of the most important things in the risk management plan is the risk acceptability criterion reflected in the risk model that we just set up. I have a placeholder here for the snapshot. I'm going to find the snapshot that we just did. So I'm going to look at the information security risk model setup page, and I'm going to take the snapshot that we did on the 6th of November, 2:55 p.m., and I'm going to add it here. Now the latest snapshot has been added. I'm going to update this document, and now I'm going to route this document for approval. I'm going to assign this to myself for the demo purposes. Normally, the same person shouldn't approve the document as is reviewing, but for demo purposes, I'm going to add this here. And this is how I can launch it for a review and approval cycle. I'm going to review this. I confirm that I reviewed this document. And now after the review, the document goes into the approval state and asks me for an e-signature, which is a TOTP authenticator token that I need to find from my phone. I'm going to add it here. And now this document has been reviewed and approved, and I can release it to everybody in the organization. This is how I can do the risk management plan with a risk model attached to it. Once it is approved, you can see that there is no way for me to edit this file anymore. But this is just planning. Let's look into how you can do risk reviews. Information security risks evolve constantly, and most companies conduct periodic, either monthly or quarterly risk reviews together with their teams. And in these risk review meetings, all responsible team members will come together to review and approve the state of risks as they are on that day, assign and plan the implementation actions of the necessary controls, and of course, the owners of each risk. In the Risk Manager Plus app, we can continuously work with the risks. For that, we have what looks a lot like spreadsheet. It is actually a table that sits inside Jira, where you can identify your assets and link them to threats and controls inside Jira. In the risk review meeting, we sit down and we go through all of those assets. We identify additional assets and provide owners to them, and describe the threats, assess these threats, and probably also plan the implementation of the mitigation actions. Now, the risk review meeting is coming to an end. We're all happy that we have done a lot of work with the assets in this asset-based risk management table. Now we want to finalize and baseline the situation after the risk review meeting. We want to put the risk review meeting minutes into a document. And for that, we want to take the status report of this particular table in Confluence. For that, we go back to our Jira reporting in Confluence, and we have a page that we call Information Security Risk Register. And this page has a risk table macro on it that pulls the information from the Software Apply Risk Manager Plus risk table in Jira to Confluence page. And it is continuously updating all the information. So this information here is completely up to date, which is amazing. The fact that it is constantly living as it is in Jira is great, except when I want to do a baseline of that. So I now want to make a static snapshot of this macro. For that, I use the Software Apply static snapshots. I'm going to take a snapshot of this macro here, and it will automatically take the snapshot and put it into the static snapshots library, where I can pull it into my report, or in this case, the risk review meeting notes. The snapshot was taken on the 6th of November, 3:04, that is the time at the moment. And I can go to the Document Manager app and create a new document called Risk Review Meeting Minutes on November 6th. It has its own template, an approved template, risk review template. I'm going to put it in the risk management files. I'm going to start the versioning from 1, and I'm going to create this document, and I'm going to edit this draft. I can also say who was participating in this meeting. For example, I can say that I had CISO there, CTO there, Jira, admins if need. And now I want to update the static snapshot of the table because this one is probably old. This is from the last month. It's a placeholder. So I'm going to add the snapshot from the 6th of November, 3:05, and I'm going to add it here. And now I have the baseline in my risk review meeting minutes from today. And this is fantastic. I'm going to update this. And now I can send this document to approval to the CISOs and CTOs that were at the meeting, so that we are sure that this particular document has been approved by them as well. And we have a completely approved baseline. Again, I'm going to add myself here as a reviewer and as an approver, although this is not a good procedure because normally you want to have different people here. I'm going to launch this. And I'm going to complete the information. I'm going to confirm that I've done it. So now I need to approve this document. And I'm going to sign it again with a TOTP authenticated code that I get from my phone. And now I have approved the risk review meeting minutes, and I'm going to release this to the organization so that everybody sees what we agreed with my CTO, CISO, and Jira admins. Now this document is released. Nobody can edit this anymore once it is released. So there is no edit button here. And we can see the static snapshot of the risk table that we already looked at in the risk review meeting. So everybody can see this. And this is it. This is how you can do a risk management plan or risk review meeting minutes inside Jira and Confluence using the Software Apply apps. These approved risk review meeting minutes form a complete audit trail, providing continuous evidence of control, oversight, and accountability under 27001 or SOC 2. Each month, your organization can demonstrate that risks are being tracked, reviewed, and mitigated, with every change documented and approved. With Software Apply Risk Manager Plus and the Document Manager, your information security risk management becomes a living procedure that is always up to date, always compliant. From defining risks in Jira to approving the meeting minutes or the reports in Confluence, everything happens seamlessly on Atlassian Cloud. You can do the same for project risks, for product risk, or organizational risks in Jira and Confluence. If you want to learn more about how you can manage your information security in Jira and Confluence, please don't hesitate to book a call with our team and we can help you set up your risk projects on Atlassian Cloud. Thank you so much for watching and best of luck to you with your information security. Thank you and bye-bye.